After Mike Israetel's PhD got exposed for the sham that it is, and after him and Milo Wolf did a terrible job of covering it up, the science-based lifting community has basically lost all of its credibility. But don't you worry, these geniuses came up with a new coordinated plan to get your trust back. The only problem is, we're about to dismantle this rebrand right here and right now, stopping these so-called doctors from ripping off any more people with their shameless grifting. Today, we will go over 5 videos from their most recent coordinated attack and break down all of their lies and contradictions one by one. Nobody's safe here. Jeff Nippard, Mike Israetel's goons, and even the Jizz Lord himself.
All the hand jobs in the world aren't doing it anymore, and you're gonna need some, you feel me, mouth and some downstairs areas.
But let's save the biggest grifters for last, and let's start off with the easy pickings. Mr. Pack and his video titled, Why Your Physique Sucks. Kind of crazy coming from a guy that looks like he's wearing one of those Amazon latex muscle suits all the time, but okay, let's get this one over with.
Despite what people like to parrot online, science and even anecdote to an extent, but science mainly, continuously confirm one thing. The details are not as important, at least for building an appreciable amount of muscle, as many make them. For example, you can train to failure or leave a few reps in reserve and make the same gains. Rest periods are not really a big deal for gains. Sure, resting less may lead to less gains, but the effect is relatively small. You can make amazing gains with low volumes, minimum effective dose, TM, just a few sets per week. That's all you need to make substantial gains. Also, you don't need to train muscles multiple times per week. You can use machines or free weights or both to make gains. You can do high, low reps, whatever. The list goes on.
How interesting, Mr. Pack. It's almost like that's what everybody else was saying for years outside of your little exercise science circle jerk. It's also really interesting how you didn't include videos from Mike Israetel and Jeff Nippard while talking about people who over-focus on details in terms of lifting. And guys, this is going to be a very common pattern that we will see across these new videos, but don't worry, it gets even worse than this. Stuff doesn't get much better in his video titled The Truth About Optimal Training That No One Talks About. Nice ChatGPT generated title there, bro.
Reality check. The majority of you do not really care about optimal gains. You think you do, but you don't. You don't actually care about that extra 5 or 10% that may be meaningful to a high-level powerlifter or high-level bodybuilder. And this really grinds my gears as it creates this mischaracterization of science-based lifting as this neurotic, continuously chasing optimal training.
Oh really, Mr. Pack? Only competitive bodybuilders and powerlifters care about these low optimizations. Is that why you and Mike Israetel, Milo, and Henselman are arguing every week whether lifters should eat 0.6 or 0.8 grams of protein per pound? Like that fucking matters at all? It sure is interesting to suggest that stuff like this only matters to elite level lifters, while at the same time you're on podcast with Mike Israetel talking about the scientifically best recovery methods for 45 minutes to an audience of over 1 million people. I'll give you guys a good recovery method. Eat some fucking food and lay down. There, I saved you 45 minutes of 2 bald guys jerking each other off with studies. I hope they at least use the scientific papers to clean each other off. And I also hope you're subscribed to Zoorp. Would be kind of embarrassing if you weren't, but hey, I don't judge. This Mr. Pack video kind of set the tone for the videos to come. These people have spent years selling you on the little details and telling you that the little details are what actually matters and that they're gonna give you all the gains, only to now go against that because people have figured out that it basically makes no fucking difference at all.
So Jeff, you gotta let me know, how am I looking?
Well, you're looking S tier, but your exercise selection is C or B tier.
Really?
Yeah.
No, bro, you can't just do normal standing curls. You have to do curls the way I think it's optimal. If you did curls like me, maybe you would have big arms, Jesse. Ow. Well, that's awkward.
But even this doesn't boil my blood as much as this Milo Wolf video, or well, to be honest, any Milo Wolf video, but this one specifically. This video is not only terrible because Mr. Wolfie will spill a bunch of BS, but also because his overly pretentious delivery. Like, why is bro lighting his videos like he's making a true crime documentary on Netflix? Hey Goober, you're talking about how much chicken sweaty dude should be eating on the internet, okay? Calm down, Christopher Nolan. The only thing you'll be directing is the next casting couch video with you and Mike Israetel. But don't worry, at least he's used to faking it with you. His video titled The Rise of Influencer Science Experiments might be one of the worst things I've ever watched, and it's hilarious how he doesn't see that all of the criticisms that he's throwing out actually apply perfectly to him and to his little circle jerk.
These so-called influencer science experiments are not science. They're stories dressed up to look like science. And while they might seem harmless, maybe even educational, they're quietly pulling us backwards. Why are influencers doing this? The answer is simple, because it works. Running these experiments signals authority. It positions them as scientists, not content creators.
Oh really, Milo Wolf? Influencers run bogus experiments to pass them off as science and use them to gain authority in the space. How interesting. It's almost like Mike Israetel paid for your PhD and now you use those 2 letters in front of your name and pretentious lighting to make yourself seem like an authority in the field. Either these twats think their viewers are stupid enough to not see the blatant hypocrisy, or they themselves are just that delusional. Honestly, I can't stomach any more of this video. Bro is just yapping about absolutely nothing for like 20 plus minutes, but hey, At least after years of hard work to get his PhD, and at the ripe age of 27, bro finally learned that lunges are a good leg exercise for hypertrophy.
I used to think lunges were a waste of time, but after experimenting with technique, I realized I was completely wrong.
Please, leave in the comments at what age you learned this hidden lifting secret. Anyways, we're going to move on to the fake scientists, as Milo Wolf calls them, as if any of these clowns are real scientists. But the dropout dentista is up next on the hit list. Jeff Nippard's video, "I cut my workout in half," is one of the most blatant grifts I've seen in the lifting community in years now.
For as long as I've been training, I've always been a pretty high volume guy. For one, that's the way the bodybuilding greats like Arnold, Ronnie Coleman, and Jay Cutler all trained, and it's also what the science suggested was most optimal.
So let me get this straight. You trained with high volume because the bodybuilding greats did it, and it's because the science said it's optimal. So are we just gonna ignore all the other bodybuilding greats that were winners and had amazing physiques while using low volume training protocols? I guess we're also gonna ignore the fact that Ronnie, one of the bodybuilders he named directly, was doing high volume and high intensity at the same time, because bro is a freak of nature on enough gear to kill a horse and was waking up in the middle of the night to eat food. I mean, literally, none of Jeff's excuses hold any water here. And this becomes even more obvious when you see that he gained strength while cutting as an advanced lifter by going against what the science has been saying for years. The real problem with most of these high volume studies is that they get some dude to do 40 sets of quad extensions for 8 weeks without properly adjusting the intensity parameters for the lower volume group, and without having actual scientists with enough experience to see if the lower volume and higher intensity groups are really pushing themselves. Just take this Mike Israetel video for example. He stopped this powerlifter and he said, "Okay, that's good enough. You can stop your set now." And then the powerlifter was like, "Can I do a few more?" And he was like, "Yeah." And then he went on to do like 7 more reps. These guys have no idea what failure actually is. This is also not to mention that most of these studies don't have tools that are accurate enough to measure the minuscule muscle difference gain after 8 weeks. And to top it all off, they don't really take into consideration other factors like stress from working and how this 40-set routine would fit into your everyday life. And most importantly, how the hell would you do 40 sets per week per body part? I mean, sure, if you take some dude that doesn't train hard at all and you get him to do twice as many of his not training hard sets, yes, that will cause more growth. But this is not a good solution for the average person. Instead of spending 3 hours at the gym 6 days a week, you can get comparable results by training with less volume, challenging yourself on every set, and doing a few full body workouts per week. Because guess what, my friend? You don't wake up to a package full of supplements from your sponsor, you don't have $1 million home gym in which you can train for hours on end, and on top of all of this, you have real responsibilities outside of making fitness content. Now, don't get me wrong, Jeff is not suddenly changing his ways because he realized that the lower volume is actually the way. He is simply trying to cover his butt because the scientific community got ripped to shreds after Mike Israetel's PhD got exposed. But to give credit where credit is due, at least Jeff tried to save his brand with lifting and pseudoscience like he's been doing for years. Mike Israetel's attempt, on the other hand, was much sadder than this. And listen, before we talk about this terrible video from Mr. Mike, we have to get the obvious out of the way. He never addressed the PhD controversy on his own channel like a man. Now, on one hand, he technically doesn't owe anybody an explanation to why his PhD was so poorly written, and to be honest, I feel like if he actually went down this path, he could have saved the reputation of the science-based lifting community at large. The problem is that with his low IQ and high ego, he came up with the brilliant idea to use Wolfie Chan's YouTube channel to spread some terribly written propaganda, which was obviously clocked within the same day, because contrary to what Mike believes, the average person on the internet is much smarter than him.
No one in their right mind would at this point be like, this guy's below average intelligence. That would be preposterous to say. I've taken the Raven's Advanced Progressive Matrices test, and I pegged at scale high. So I get every single question right. And so my IQ is above 160. We don't know how high because they don't do standardized IQ tests above that.
Now, with that out of the way, let's get to his attempt to win the majority back with his "How do you do, fellow kids" ass video called "Reacting to Bro Science Life." Now, if you're a broccoli-haired kid, you might not be aware of just how big Dom Mazzetti was and still is in the fitness community. He's somebody that I personally got all my knowledge from.
What's a good bench to squat ratio? Easy, always to never. And don't even get me started on fasted cardio. Like running while starved? What, are you kidding me? What are you running from, a genocide? Tuna is chicken of the sea, which means it's just as bad as chicken, except it smells and tastes like whale pussy.
But even besides Dom's immense knowledge, he's basically the one YouTuber that's universally loved in the fitness community. So to see this bald-headed freak fake laugh to his videos for 20 minutes while trying to come off as relatable to the larger gym community just boiled my blood. I think Mr. Mike has never laughed in his life. Like, this might have just stopped Jimmy Kimmel for the fakest fake laugh of all time. And you know what? Dom Mazzetti might not be funny to everybody everybody. I understand that. And please be sure to go to the doctor and get that checked out if that's the case for you. But I think it's much more respectable not to laugh at something and say your honest opinion than to fake it for clout and brownie points. But then again, if we're being honest, we know that Mike likes to fake it. But hey, look on the bright side. At least Mr. Israetel here got a decently viewed video again. It's been a rough month at RP since the whole PhD thing came out, let me tell you that. Ladies and gentle Zoorps, watch this video here where I talk about the dark side of Mike Israetel. Not about the PhD scandal, but about things that are much worse than this. So click here, and I'll see you gamers in the next one. Zoorp out.